and welcome back to Vanessa's podcast. So today this episode is going to be dedicated to all the young ladies in their 20s who are dealing with a physical abusive relationship and they don't know what to do, they don't know where to turn, they don't have anybody they can really trust or talk to, and they don't know how to share their story with their closest friends, and they feel they may be stuck. So let's get started. So I'm going to tell the story of how I met Isaiah 19 years ago. Once upon a time, it was 19 years ago. I was just turning 21. I was just a young fruit, just, testing out the water out there. I felt like I was already 30 and very wise, and I knew everything there was to know in the world. Life was pretty good so far. I hadn't been beaten up by life, and everything seems to be like a nice, flashy galaxy starlight, like a rainbow, like everything was pink and purple, full of roses, and it was just so magical. The world was just simply beautiful and magical. And when it was night, I decided to check out a new nightclub. As you know, nightclubs open all night in Europe, so it was difficult for me to find number one in USA, and number two, there weren't that many in where I was at the time in Bradenton, Florida. Yeah, it's grown now, but it wasn't, it wasn't very nightlife exciting and much atmosphere there. There was literally 3 or 4 places you could go. But nightclub-wise, there were one place, and the other place you could barely dance. They had a little band. So this was literally one of the only nightclubs, and you had to go out of the city if you wanted to go to a larger club. So this club was called Outer Limit, and it was rap, hip-hop, groovy, music of the moment, a little bit of Latino music also sometimes. So I go there, and then I bring some beers with me, and I knew them. You could not, drink and drive in America and all this stuff. So I'm going, and I'm having a blast, and I'm dancing in a cage, and just really getting into the music. And let me tell you, until I get to that age, I had started going to my first nightclub. I was maybe 15. And every single chance I had to go, I would just be the first one in line, doing anything in my power to get in. If I had the money or not, find a way to get free ticket. Sometimes my only excitement of the weekend was knowing that I could just go and step in the dance floor, or just go and have fun and meet people in nightclubs. So yeah, it wasn't unknown territory to me. It almost felt like I had spent my lifetime in nightclubs. So since we could dance all night in France, and spending less than 2 or 3 hours in nightclub for me was like I was being ripped off. Anyways, I was just going with the flow. First of all, they almost refused me to get in. Okay, so here's a quick story. I remember they sent me back to my car for some reason. And maybe I didn't have my ID or something. And then I get to my car, and here's a guy who's standing by. I remember turning around, and I had a can of beer on maybe below my seat, something, not opened. And there was this guy. I think I was trying to reach for it. I was probably trying to drink it before I get in the nightclub. And I turn around and this guy is standing in my door. Not even a way or a step away from my car, just standing there like he was some kind of soldier, like his arm pointed to the side, and he just had this blank poker face on, and it was just very frightening. And he wasn't very tall, he looked like he was robust and strong, but just weird. This guy is standing there for no reason. So I'm saying, hey, what do you want? Get out my door. And he doesn't move. I'm like, what do you want? Like, you need to get out my door. And then he's just pointing there like a robot. And then he goes, you know you're not supposed to have beers here. And I'm like, but I'm not driving, and this beer is not open. And he said, I think he said something threatening, like, you need to give me that beer right now, I'm going to call the police. And I think I said something like, who are you? Like you need to get out of here. You have no right being here. And I think he said something like, you want to try me, you want to fight me. And I was like, no, I don't want to fight you. And this whole scenario was really weird to me, because I was like, why is it okay for a random guy who doesn't even tell me who he is? Obviously, he was maybe a security guard, maybe he was just a maintenance guy, or maybe he was just a worker there pretending to be somebody. I have no idea. But even if I was sitting in his parking lot, he had no right to put his leg in between my car door while I was sitting in my car seat. To not tell me who he is. If he wants authority, or tell me then he has some kind of right, he has to at least present himself. And just to order me around and threat me within seconds. So the worst part is that he literally said something, like he was gonna beat me up, or he wanted to fight, something like this. And I remember being really headstrong back then, and just nobody would just, I was just not really scared of anybody. I mean, unless you actually had a gun, or you were about to kill somebody, of course, But not, getting scared easily. So I just said, you need to back up, something like this. And I just walked out. I threw the cane, because obviously he was being, a hey-hole. So I just threw the cane away, and I went back in, dance, had a great time, go to the bar, and I see this guy sitting in his stool, kind of staring at me the whole time I'm dancing, not paying much attention to him. I'm going back. He just kind of pulls my arm, say, you want a drink? I'm like, sure, yeah, okay. Get the drink, go back to dance. No. And then I go back to my seat, and then he shows up. And now I remember him standing up, as I saw him sitting down earlier that night. And now he's standing, and I see he seems to be so small, which appeared to even be smaller than me. And I'm like, and I was kind of shocked. That was the one thing I remember the most, is that he was actually very small. And he was insisting on getting me more drinks. So I remember accepting another drink. And so he appeared to be Hispanic or Latino, or I was not sure where he was from. Just never really had met anybody from, wherever he was from before. It was all new to me. I've been in Florida, having more Latino culture, Spanish culture, and Mexican culture around. Was not something I grew up into. So I accepted it, and then we talked, and we spent maybe 30 minutes together. We insisted to go have another drink, and go by his place, and then he got my number, and then next thing we know, I know is I think I reached out a week later, and then we start hanging out, and then everything was just fine. Everything was just fine at first. It was every weekend I would meet and we would do something different. We'd go either wash his car, we'll go to pub events, we'll go to the movie, we'll go shopping, we'll go, doing the typical things an American were doing at the time. And since he was more American than I was at the time, since I had just been there for a year and he had been there for maybe 5 years, he was about 4 years older than me, and not even 4 years, and but mentally wise, since he had been working since he was 12 or 13 years old in his country, mentally and psychologically wise, he was probably over 10 years older, 15 years older. In education wise, he was probably 20 years younger, because he stopped his education when he was probably about 10 years old. That's what he told me. Actually, he actually admitted to me that he didn't know how to read and write, and I spent time teaching him that. So I was really proud of that I could actually help someone that didn't know where to seek for help and was too ashamed to tell anybody. And so back then there weren't that many center or easy place to go to for an adult, a young adult, to say, I need some help, I don't want to be humiliated, or people just know about it and just without much resource and being able to get the help they need. So other things that was great is learning about his culture, and so within the first year, I learned everything about Guatemala. That's where he was from. I learned about the music, I learned about the food, I learned about how they sew, a lot of tablecloth, towels, napkin, carpet, things that they make by hand. They make a lot of things like jeans, necklace, mask, things like this. How they how the kind of show when they watched, the soap operas, all this. So basically, they were always playing some kind of soap opera music in our house. The brother was always watching some kind of dynasty type show. They were always like the big giant pyramid and the symbols of his country on little mats or carpet or on a painting everywhere in the house. They love the porcelains, they love little knick-knack decoration all around, very colorful. And they always make tortilla, like homemade tortilla with the old antique iron thing used to make tortilla. So I was really impressed. I was like, this is so cool, this is so new to me. And I really was disgusting the first time I ever even tried a tortilla. But then I got used to it and started eating a bunch. And I remember they eat them with lots of cream cheese. And they would have like 10 or 20 at the table every time. It was like bread to them. But we don't usually eat like 5 pieces of bread with a meal. But them, they don't eat bread, but they eat all these tortillas while they eat the meal. The other great thing is that they love to cook. So cooking is like really important to them. So they like take 2 or 3 hours. And they really take their time to make it like super tasty. Lots of soup and pot au feu and spicy meat and just delicious food, really. They like to make salad also. And they always keep a day or two where it's typically reserved for fast food. And then there will be one night it will be Chinese. So I'll never forget, I kind of like got into his routine, and which was almost exactly the same over and over. And I was like, oh,